Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing great. We got a market sort of interested. Dow's up about 220. The S&P, this is very noteworthy. The S&P hasn't taken out the overnight low, and the market's been correcting. If you look at the E-mini, for example, it's had a high of 27, a low of '06, and we're currently about 15. Gets above 20, I think we could run. The Nasdaq was strong and then corrected, and now it's coming back into the RB3 range. So got to keep our eye on that. But some of the stocks look pretty good. Did everybody? Did everybody? I want everybody to understand. I put Tesla out as my number one horse today. Did y'all see that in TNT? Did everybody see that? I put it out as my number one horse. Yeah, it took off, and Tesla really put on the dog, so to speak, went up to about 464. Even if you don't have enough money to buy 100 shares of it, you ought to put $1,000 on that horse and let it run. It paid pretty good. And that was from this morning, just out of the TNT room. Last night, futures first, I wanted to do a Delta 10 strategy, and I didn't do it last night. I didn't do it this morning, but I did do it once the S&P got above its pivot number, 6911, on my Delta 10 strategy for the E-mini. That baby been paying about 40% when it hits and runs. And I'd be curious to see if we get above that 6920 to put it in play today. Looking around the horn, I like AMD. AMD's they made an announcement they've got a deal going with the energy department. That ought to be interesting. It seems like any company that's making these deals end up higher 2 weeks later. Have y'all noticed that? Name a few: MP, Intel, NVIDIA, just to name a few. Okay. Carol said she got 685 out of my TQQ play. Yeah, I mean, you got an opportunity. You got an opportunity no matter what type trader you are to make some money if you listen, because I'm engaged in this market, and I love talking about trading. So pretty nice stuff. But looking at the market right now, we're sort of in this noise area. And did you see gold broke that 4,000 level and dropped immediately $91? Okay, $91 it dropped just like that. So that was interesting. I'm curious to see how this baby unfolds, because Chuck gave you sort of the time frame. We know from past experience, doesn't always have to work this way, that coming into an interest rate cut, the market's usually higher up through the morning of tomorrow. And I think with the sophisticated tools everybody has now, with the way they bet and they do all that stuff, it's pretty nice anyway to still play those plays. But I think as far as the market going up, it's good. The only thing that would derail the rally, as far as I'm concerned, would be Powell saying something real stupid. But I noticed that he hadn't been taking a lot of heat lately, and so maybe they've got an impasse knowing he's only got a few more short months to be there. Get a dog in the wheel, so to speak. But anyway, I like Tesla, obviously. I've been talking about it for about 3 or 4 days, been playing it to the long side, and it's been paying. Y'all have anything on your mind? I know that we designed this to be able to help you. And we have risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. But if you got questions, you ought to type it in there. I talked to Debbie last night. She's getting some help from Jonathan. And, you just, in my opinion, we're trying to do everything we can to make this job as an investor trader easier for you. We know we've got what works. We just got to convince you of that. Okay. That's my opinion. The weekly trade letter, it's just been a roaring success if you look at it, and I think that if you're a subscriber, Monday afternoon you get pretty well an overview, and then where we open the week at and how we're trading and current market and all that right there in front of you. And notice I say in those key words, the market's melting up. Now, what does that mean? It's the opposite of a market melting down. You got a market that's melting up right now, and you got to be invested to take advantage of it. And that's what those words mean, melting up. I want everybody to understand it. If I use those words, it means something, melting up. All right, what did I put as the magic 5 stocks in the newsletter? Let's go back and look at that, Jonathan. We can. Didn't I put the magic 5? I put Apple. Boy, that's been a good one. NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA. I put NVIDIA. Palantir. There's Tesla. Identified it early. Said it was going to 473. Jonathan, we only charge $9.99 for this, huh? Okay. AMD, I had it before the government had it, right? Look at that. That was my Monday afternoon. The biotech, I'm very interested in this XBI. If you look at it, it's going higher. I think it's headed to 120, and I'm going to do a trade there for sure sometime today. XBI. $9.99 if you're only brave enough to listen to me and make money. It's pretty good, isn't it? This is a real good summary for each week, isn't it? If I was you, I'd print this off and track me, because Chuck comes back on Wednesday, plays the devil's advocate, and all he has to say recently is just how great it is, Isn't that right, Chuck?
Yeah, Tom, recently all I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, what percentage of a win is it? So break out the calculator and figure out percentages, because it's been pretty solid lately.
Most people, pay these humongous fees to get one or two stocks. I give you 5 every Monday afternoon. Retirement Center, boy, I tell you, I've got an account there. It's rocking and rolling. I think you're finding out with me how to invest your retirement money. I never look at it because I'm pretty confident I'm on the right side of history. You can join there at no charge. Open a Tastyworks account, Tasty Trade account, and use ours as a referral. And I'm not there yet to be having a discussion about getting some better fees, better commissions, but try to get in the group. All right, so we're 89% accurate. If I told you I was 89% accurate before October started, how many people would say, I got to listen to that guy, maybe make some money? Simple, straightforward, market timing plays and all that. 89%. If you listen, your account grows because we work at it very hard to produce this. It takes a team effort to do it. I try to keep you informed, educate you along the way. That is stronger than garlic to me. Stronger than garlic. Over 200 now. We're hitting 200, 86% accuracy. So we got some statistical significance here with 202 winners, 31 losers, and 86% accuracy. Pretty strong. Most people in this business would, they have something close to that. They'd be talking about how great they were, I guess. I don't know. Gold program, I like to mention it because you can save a lot of money with me if you join our gold program. Talk to Kelly Barber, talk to Jeffrey Andrack, talk to Kareem. They'll get you set up. We're running a deal today. If you sign up for the gold program, they'll take any money you spent in the last 30 days and take it off the price. That's today only. Today only. So you got to talk today, make a deal. I want to hear you if you're interested in that, where we get somebody, get on the phone, type in your name and phone number. Name and phone number. If you're interested in getting the gold program at a heavily discounted value, you can do it right now. That helps the new people that don't know this is the best deal going. That's for stock and options, not futures, but stock and options if you join the gold program. Yeah, just put your name and email and Adam will make sure that one of them get a hold of you and wrap it up today. That's a heck of a discount, isn't it? Especially for new people. Plus, you get all these services. Goodness gracious. Train and trade today. Here we are, October 11th, what we got going. T-Buzz Talk and Trade just keeps putting points on the board. Some people tell me that I ought to not let anybody attend anything unless they're members of T-Buzz Talk and Trade, because clearly when I meet with people face to face, the first thing most people tell me, it saves them with the education we do inside there and the setups we give and all that. One guy, JD, sent me an email this morning because I only posted 4 stocks in the Magic 5. And I guess that Tesla being that #1 horse made up for the omission of the 5th stock. DTItrader.com/TNT. Today's focus, 10,000 capital, how to probe on Monday and go full boat on Tuesday, part 2. Let's talk about it. Here's the 10 stocks that we chose. And Jeff, I'm gonna let you explain to everybody how many of those 10 that we're into and how many we've gone full boat now.
Well, eight of the 10 triggered us into a entry yesterday. That's where they're listed there on the slide. Hey Lou, I'll post the link for you again for that T-Buzz weekly trade letter. It's dtitrader.com/weekly. Or if you'd rather give us a call after this session, you can do so. But the link there is in the chat. That's $9.99 for the year. All right, so there's the 8 stocks. We spoke about them yesterday during Train and Trade. So that's 8 of the 10. On the prior slide, the ones we got into are bolded. That means 2 of the 10 didn't trigger us in yesterday, and those were Micron and Meta. Or excuse me, Micron and NNE. That slide's wrong. Micron and NNE did not trigger us into a trade yesterday. So we need to go live and look at those. Let's go live. First up, we can look at Micron, and we'll come back to this trade tracker, but remember the process. On a positive reference bar, we can consider getting in. And you can see here from the roadmap software, a couple different things. One, you got your blue reference bar right here, which we're not above. We're closer to the bottom end than the top end, actually. And if that's not clear enough, we have the RB frame here for you. And you need to get above that high of the RB frame. Looks like around 220.55 would throw Micron into a possibility of getting our first probe entry into the market. Any questions on that? And yes, I will share the link to the slides here momentarily. Sure will. The 10 stock entries, it's for shares. If you were here yesterday, you'll remember that it's, hypothetically, Tom said, let's take 10,000, divide it into 10 for 1,000 each. And yesterday we got into $500 worth of shares, hypothetically. Review yesterday's session if you need to. And you can find that recording at the YouTube channel, dcastro.com/YouTube, by going to the live tab. So that's Micron. Still no entry on Micron. What about NNE? NNE is looking pretty good. Now, it opened the week at 46.36 times, so it's not above the weekly open. So I'll have to revert to you. It is above the reference bar, but it's not above the weekly open. So what do you say on NNE?
46.55, probe it.
46.55. Okay, I'll set an alert at 46.55 on NNE. Any questions on how we arrived at that number, 46.55? I'll review it again. It did have a positive reference bar this morning. You can see that right here. Blue reference bar, the next bar went higher. Positive reference bar. But I'll draw a line at the weekly open and you'll see the importance of that weekly open. Pretty darn clear, if you ask me, why, or visually, why, we say the weekly open is important. That orange line marks the weekly open. And clear resistance stepped in there at the weekly open. They sold back off a little bit.
And so if we probe in today, then tomorrow we have a positive reference bar, we go full boat on it.
Right. So
Pretty simple approach, but it works.
Any questions on that? I think we got some people understanding. That's good. Let's go back to the slides. Because now we had 8 entries yesterday. We can go look at adding to those 8 probes yesterday. The question is, has any stock gone above its Monday high?
And by the way, if it had gone above the Monday's high, I would buy it above the reference bar. So let's just go through one and look at it. Like look at one of the ones that were long, and let's go look at RB3.
Okay, our next slide here has a picture of the trade tracker, which gives us Monday's high and low. And I updated it right at 11 as we were going live. And you can see here it's squared off. Monday's high and low. WS stands for week start. It's typically Monday. Monday was the first trade day of the week this week. And those are the high numbers, 628.55 on the QQQ, and at 11.
It's at 629.98 right now. Did it have a positive reference bar? Is the question.
All right. Does everybody understand the step-by-step process here before we go show you the reference bar? Hey, give us feedback, folks. Type yes into the chat if you're following along. Type no if you're not. All right, bunch of yeses. Good deal. As we go to the roadmap, I need to change the ticker in here to QQQ. And we saw from the trade tracker that we were above Monday's high, but we're looking at this reference bar and saying we don't have a higher reference bar. See that?
And what number is that?
The high of that RB3 this morning is 631.36.
And so the way that works, every day until we get a positive reference bar, we're on the watch. And now we know today it goes above 31.36, we're going to buy full boat. See how that works, folks? Okay. One down, 7 more.
I just want to go here to make sure people see this in writing. So it kind of clicks in with everybody. So above Monday's high, that's step 1 for adding to your probe. But step 2 must also be met. And that is if we see another positive RB signal. So Monday, you get your probe on. If we're above the weekly open and making a reference bar high. Tuesday, you can add if we're above Monday's high, making higher highs. And if we make a reference bar high. So notice a pattern there in the, regardless of the time frame, keeping it simple in terms of a higher high, right? It's the same simple pattern, but across time frames. Okay, so the next one up on the list, and I'm just going to go live for this because I've got a trade tracker live on the roadmap. If you look down this column right here, you can see the stocks that are currently above their week start high. The SPY was green, it just went red, so we can cross the SPY off the board. It just went back green. So let's just look at the SPY, and you can see it's not above the reference bar. So cross the SPY out. SPY's not ready to add. Next up, TQQQ. It is above Monday's high, which was 116.69. It's going to follow the QQQ, which we said was not ready to add. So naturally, the TQQQ is not ready to add. Meta, we got in yesterday, but it's not above Monday's high. Micron, we're not in yet. AMD, we got in yesterday, but it's not above Monday's high. Microsoft, it's a good bit above Monday's high, about 9 points. But we look at the reference bar, and it's keeping us from adding a new, or the rest of the position there on Microsoft. NNE, we're not in yet. 46.55 is our trigger today. And NVIDIA, we are in. It's slightly above Monday's high, but you can see it's not above the reference bar. And Apple's not above Monday's high. So if I bring up the S&P futures and the NASDAQ futures, you can probably guess, after looking through those stocks, what these two markets are doing. And you should expect them to not be above their RB3 high, because none of those stocks we looked at just now were above their RB3 high, and sure enough. And we did that in an opposite order. Usually we look at the futures first, and we'd have an idea that not many of those stocks are probably truly breaking out today above their reference bar 3 high. And of course, we saw that when we looked at the individual stocks. It's in reverse order. But usually we looked at futures first. Sometimes let's look at the, good to look at the reverse orders to show you how everything's tied together here. Any questions on what we've covered? Great, great. We went through that process with you, but it's something you can do on your own very easily, as long as you understand time of day and 3 simple patterns for long, short, or out. Tom, got no questions from Sherry. Joseph's good to go.
Yeah, and this, the reason I wanted to do this is because it really shows you by putting a method out there for you to see with stocks, it shows you the power of taking this strategy that I've developed over the years and then translating it to options as the year matures. But I think the beautiful thing about this is that we just do it step by step. We let the market determine it, and we keep our biases out of it. It's based on numbers of these tickers. So, and that one major rule, Jonathan alluded to it, and I'll just say it, 75% of all these stocks follow the S&P. And the S&P right now is in between its reference bars and below its daily high. So that's pretty good.
I'll look at the chart right here, and I think to myself, Tom, at 1:30 today, we're covering the importance of tracking the 8 p.m. Eastern Time session. And, this is going to be a real good day to talk about that at 1:30, our 1:30 session, because this kind of chart shows you how if you were in early, you made money. If you got in at the open, you're losing money. So Those overnight
It's
markets.
truly, today is truly, substantiates that statement, early bird makes money.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the topic of our focus for everybody that's in the 130 program. And we're going to mention that in a moment. But Tom, first we want to look at this moneymaker. We got a moneymaker slide here I want to showcase. And we can go live. Might be easier to see it live. Let's do that.
Yeah, you can raise the sell side to 68.94.
Okay.
And folks, if you're following me in the Futures First, or you're following me anywhere else, those are my targets and support levels. So across the board, you can use the money maker to make money. That's why we call it the money maker. Okay. And as long as we're above 68.94, then it looks like the XSP we sold yesterday, we got an 85.84. We're in good shape as long as we stay above the 94 level. Does everybody understand how that works? Or the TQQ, we sold a TQQ. In fact, Jonathan, I was doing a calculation for the 130 to 2 time frame. And so far, if you took and put $1,000 on the line with me every time I met, I think I met 5 times already. At 200, you already got $1,000 back on just a simple $1,000 layoff for what I talk about at 132. So what does that tell you about 130 to 3? What does it tell you as a trader investor for that kind of record? What does that tell you? What does it tell you? It's very underpriced for what I'm doing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'll be doing it again today. We got a session today at 1:30 to 3. And I got to tell you, it really draws in the focus for people to see this in action. Real time, real trades, real results. Now, we got a time frame. We got a little education we do right after I do my overview at 1:30. And then we wait till about 2:10 when the trade window opens up. And then I'm looking for that trade as we're educating you. Today we had a real great topic, which is the importance of 8 o'clock at night. Nobody's talking about it, but I am. And I'm going to teach you about it because everybody's going to, just like that article that appeared in Barron's 20 years after I wrote the book, The Markets Never Sleep. There's an article in there, and I'll show it to you. And I got Johnson's going to highlight it about the 24-hour market. They finally had an article in Barron's. I said, it'd be nice if they gave me credit for it. They should, but
hey, Tom, and can you send that over to me, Tom? So I never got that from you.
I hadn't had time, Jonathan. I will.
Okay, okay. Sounds good.
I haven't been sitting here. I've been trading. But the point I'm making is, folks, 1:30 to 3 is a go-to place. Ask Roger Sessions. He changed his whole work schedule around that time frame where he could be off during that time frame. He's an orthopedic out in Texas. I thought that was saying a lot right there. Anyway, let's keep moving here.